This week, a look back at the tech that's helping tackle climate change.
So what do you think? Shall we go for a ride?
I think we should. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Alistair straps into a truck with a difference. But how hard is it to power a 40-tonner by battery?
Well, you can start with lots of robots.
It's quite mesmerising to watch.
Love a robot.
Plus, from 10-wheelers to 2. How about a scooter powered by gas?
Now, here's a man with a plan to power the planet.
We believe that sticking a needle into a huge magma chamber is not going to create an explosive effect.
Is he sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Plus, how do we get those precious metals back out of our phones? Well, Spencer grabs the sponge that's got the Midas touch.
The world of transport wants to go electric, but some vehicles are easier to electrify than others. While the tech world is going mad for electric cars, bigger vehicles are proving more difficult. The bigger and heavier they are, the bigger and heavier the batteries need to be.
More than a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions from road transport in the EU come from heavy-duty vehicles. And because nearly everything we eat, drink and wear will have been in a big truck at some point, a cleaner, greener future is going to need cleaner, greener haulage.
And some manufacturers are pushing on with the switch to electric, as Alistair Keane has been finding out.
There are millions of heavy goods trucks driving on roads all over the world. But why are so few of them running on electricity? To find out, we're in Södertälje, near Sweden's capital, and home to one of Europe's biggest truck manufacturers. They're on the long road to changing an industry that's having a big impact on our planet.
The biggest and largest change that our industry has for over 100 years. We went from horses to vehicles, actually.
Now trundling off the end of their production line is an increasing number of electric trucks. And Scania eventually wants that to be every vehicle they make. Switching to electric vehicle production hasn't been easy. One of the biggest challenges is the weight of the batteries. They had to reinforce the concrete and bring in new equipment to be able to lift them, and that meant closing down the production line for 3 months.
There are several thousand new components into an electric vehicle. And also what was very important during this time was to also cater for the reskilling of all our fantastic workforce, so that they could be able also to mount electrical vehicles just as they do for internal combustion engines.
Unlike for cars, this move to electric trucking is going at a very slow pace. So what motivates a company to make such a big gear shift? Hi, how are you doing?
Welcome on board.
Thank you, nice to meet you. I'm hitching a lift from the man with the keys to this organisation. This company have been part of the problem for 130 years almost, a very long time producing those trucks that were emitting the emissions that were not good for the planet. Is there guilt behind the change?
Yeah, I think there is guilt. There is the notion that we want to be able to see our kids and our grandchildren in the eyes and be able to say we knew it and we choose to do something about it, instead of just trying to continue to optimize profits and do the things that companies do. And there is also a notion of coming early to the insight that this is the future competitiveness. You know, if you're lost into this journey, you're going to have a hell of a problem to compete, because at some point everyone will understand. And that has been really important, because you have to have that as a company when you are to convince your supervisory board, your owners, and everyone around you in the ecosystem that you need to walk down this path.
Not only did Scania stop output for several months, they also built this battery factory right next to where the trucks are assembled. We're in one of the most high-tech parts of this site, where lots of robots are assembling the batteries that will end up in the trucks. It's quite mesmerising to watch. These batteries weigh an incredible 4,000 kilos. That presents lots of challenges for those driving them. There are still lots of questions, though, about using battery electric. Is it powerful enough to move these heavy trucks? Is there the charging infrastructure to allow them to go where they need to go? And at 3 times the cost of a normal truck, are they a sound investment that companies will get their money back on? And part of the debate has also been about other ways to power trucks, with some in the industry suggesting hydrogen fuel cells are the best solution for green trucking.
Battery electric is the most cost efficient. So therefore we believe in this. And also it is possible to build the infrastructure and everything around it.
So what do you think? Shall we go for a ride?
I think we should. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. It's completely silent. And it's strong. Torque is amazing.
You must still have a hard job, though, convincing companies and drivers to make the switch.
Sure, there is a lot of skepticism. I'm traveling a lot in my job, and I was also to Finland here a couple of weeks ago, which I would have expected to be market ready to transition quickly, but huge skepticism. You know, will this really work? Can it stand the temperatures of northern Finland? You know, the home of Santa Claus. Really cold, really tough drives, really high vehicle weights. And I understand that. We need to take that on with facts, and then the best way to convince customers is, as always, when something is new, and this is a very traditional industry we're in, so we're used to that, but when there is something new, let them test.
The road to green trucking is slow. There's still a lot of work to do for manufacturers across the industry trying to convince buyers to make this switch.
And now from heavy goods vehicles to something more nimble.
In some parts of the world, scooters have already gone electric, with lightweight bikes and hot swappable batteries making a lot of sense.
But even the e-scooter's taking a while to reach everyone. In the meantime, Nick Allinamda has been to Pune in India to see a bike powered by compressed natural gas.
$250 million. That is the number of two-wheelers on India's roads, emitting harmful pollutants that are adding to the worsening air quality of its cities. But one company now claims it has a solution. This is Bajaj Auto's Freedom, the world's first motorbike that runs on compressed natural gas, or CNG. It's basically a gas that's compressed and stored in a cylinder, and it's both cleaner and cheaper than other automobile fuels like petrol or diesel. Now, cars, trucks and even tuk-tuks have used CNG for long, but mounting this tech on a two-wheeler has taken years of trial and error.
So what have been the big challenges in designing this bike?
The motorcycle has very little space. A CNG cylinder is big, it is heavy, and it is of a certain shape. So that has to be integrated, and design has to take care of that. Just to quickly show you, this is a 2 kg CNG cylinder, which weighs 15 kilos, which has been packed into this bike. So you can see how large this is. Along with this, to give the customer reassurance that the customer will never be stranded, there is an auxiliary fuel tank which is right over here, which is another 2 liter.
Bajaj claims using this fuel effectively halves the running cost of the motorbike and dramatically reduces emissions of several harmful greenhouse gases.
So despite being fueled by CNG, this does really feel like riding any other bike. The big question though in everybody's minds is really the timing of the launch, because this does come into the market when we are all on the cusp of that big EV revolution.
The Indian government wants 80% of all two-wheelers on its roads to be electric by 2030. Is that a problem?
I'm still saying an electric motorcycle itself today is impossible.
I caught up with Shumi, who reviews bikes for a living.
Do you think EVs will sort of fundamentally pose a threat to these CNG bikes in the next few years?
I think we are too large a country for things to pose a threat to each other automatically. Okay. For the last 20 years of testing, I've heard of how this bike is going to end some other bike. And honestly, nothing has ended ever. Transitioning a country this large all the way to electric at 80%, where is the capacity in terms of power, in terms of battery manufacturing, in terms of cells, in terms of actual manufacturing? Who's going to sell them? Where is the infrastructure? It's a cascade of things that has to fall into place first. We are moving in that direction, but I can very easily argue that we're not moving fast enough to meet that goal.
But there might be more immediate challenges. Long lines like these of CNG-run tuk-tuks and taxis are a regular sight at India's gas stations. For these new bikes to hit the fast lane, fixing these infrastructure gaps will be critical.